Welcome to a breaking news episode of the Inside Job Boards and Recruitment Marketplaces podcast. I guess this is technically episode 104. I'm Stephen Rothberg. I'm the founder of College Recruiter Job Search Site, and my co-host Peter Zollman is sitting in his office, and it's been actually quite a while since we've done one of these breaking news episodes, but I think this one's worthwhile.
When there's breaking news, when the news breaks, we break in. God, I can't believe I did
that. Right now, I think we have some listeners saying, can you guys please start again?
We probably should. Anyway, the breaking news is that Chris Hyams is out as CEO of Indeed, the world's #1 job board / recruitment marketplace, or as they like to call it, a two-sided talent marketplace. And his replacement is His replacement is Deko, Hisayuki Idekoba, who was CEO of Indeed, and in fact, he led the acquisition of Indeed for Recruitment Holdings, the parent company based in Japan. And he was CEO. He returns as CEO. And he is also going to stay president and CEO of Recruit Holdings, which is the Japanese parent company that also owns Glassdoor, owns a number of marketplaces in Japan, and is one of the biggest staffing companies in the world.
And Workopolis simply hired some pretty
many others.
Yep. Yeah. Now, so Chris's departure, I think, to most people in the industry, big surprise.
Certainly surprised me.
Okay, there. You answered my question. I was like, did you hear rumblings of this ahead of time? Because I didn't, but I think you at the AIM group, if either one of us were to have known about this in advance, it would have been you.
Yeah, but if we knew about it in advance, we either would have told you as soon as we found out, or we couldn't have told you if we found out on a hold for release basis. Regardless, I was surprised. It has all the markings of somebody being invited to move to new pastures.
Offered the opportunity to resign.
Something like that. Now, Chris Hyams posted it, sent a note to the Indeed team. Then he posted it to LinkedIn and Substack. Deko Indeed announced it on their website. I have not seen that it hasn't had an impact on the Recruit Holdings stock price. But of course, Recruit Holdings is traded in Japan, and the market's closed now, so we'll see tomorrow morning if it has any impact. My guess is 6 months to 18 months, and Deko will replace himself with somebody else.
Okay.
And whether that's internal or external, I don't know. Obvious candidates include a few of their senior VPs, especially their product folks, and the CEO of Glassdoor as well.
Sure.
Whose name I'm blanking on. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mr. Glassdoor. I apologize. I should have looked it up before we started, but I didn't.
No biggie. Well, when you want to bring the news as quickly as possible, it just means by definition you're not going to be as well prepared as if we had done this tomorrow or 2 days from now. So hate us if you will, and oh well. Question for you, Peter. I think that you and I are in agreement. We barely talked about this before jumping on, so we're also just kind of discovering what each other is thinking. I agree with you when I read the press release, when I read Chris's note on LinkedIn, there was nothing in there that said sort of like why. It did talk about accomplishments, and it talked about like Deko taking over, but there wasn't I intended to retire, or I intended to move on when I hit this milestone, or now that we've accomplished this, then it's time for me to do the next thing. And usually you see that kind of language when it's a planned succession.
Yeah, I'm certain it didn't happen, over the weekend, unless there was some issue that is not being addressed, but I doubt that.
Yeah, we're not hearing any rumblings
And
of anything scandalous or anything like that.
and Chris is a pretty young guy. On the
Okay.
other hand, I would guess that his income from Indeed will carry him for the rest of his life if he chooses to retire. He, in his post, he said that they have increased traffic something like 4,000% income, revenue 200x, not 200%, but
Right.
200 times. And what else? Just a lot of, there's been a lot of growth since he joined in 2010. So he's been there for 15 years. He was VP of product when he joined, and he became CEO in 2019. If I should have jotted these notes down before I spoke. Let's see. He became CEO in 2019. So that's a 6-year plus run. That's nothing to be ashamed of, especially at the #1 job board in the world.
Job board? Did you just say job board? I thought it's recruitment marketplace.
By traffic, they are 5 times larger than the #2.
Wow.
Which is Glassdoor, or about 5 times larger than the #2. And the #3 is a Japanese website that is not owned by Recruit. Japanese recruitment marketplace, not owned by Recruit. #4 is Computer Bajo, which is Latin America, and the traffic comes across Latin America.
Interesting. So would you mind if I speculated as to who I think is going to be the replacement?
I don't mind, of course.
Cool. Okay. I think it's Chris Forman, former CEO of Appcast.
You are totally smoking funny cigarettes.
I am happy to share with you whatever it is that I may or may not have been smoking, but I know Chris has a close relationship with Indeed, and he has spoken very favorably of them over the past few months. He left Appcast at the end of December. I heard him talk about how he's not ready to be put out to pasture with his cows in New Hampshire. It seems like that I could see him being up for that challenge.
I absolutely don't think so.
No?
But one of us may be proven wrong in 6 months or a year. Among other things, can you imagine Chris being replaced by a Chris? That doesn't make sense.
Well, see, that's part of the reason why I think you should be on board with this, because both of us can be frugal, and Indeed could just, scratch out, Hyams on the business cards and hand write in Foreman and the name on the office door. You don't have to get rid of a handful of letters.
I'm gonna email Foreman right after we end this call, and I'll see what, if anything, he says. But I would expect it to be a giant ha 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 ha. So
that would be great. I know that this is shocking to you, Peter, but there have been a time or two over the years where I have been proven wrong. I know that's shocking.
It's fun to speculate. I would. It's a lot of fun to speculate. In any case, I highly doubt.
Why do you think they're making this move now? In all seriousness,
I suspect the market has been slowing.
Okay.
And they're spending a lot of money on AI and agentic and this and that. My wild guess is that it's not producing results as fast as they would like. They also had a giant debacle when they tried to push, pay for
cost per application.
Yeah, cost per application down the throats of most of their employers, and for 9 months or so, they were pushing that hard and talking about how great it was, and then that failed. For the long term, we all agree that that's coming in some form, some way,
yes,
and eventually even cost per hire will be the gold standard. But that's down the road, and that is remarkably difficult, because proving who got hired, how they got hired, and who the hire deliverer is just incredibly difficult.
Who gets attribution, right? I mean, if a candidate sees a job on Indeed and then goes over to Glassdoor to read reviews, and then goes back to Indeed to read other reviews, and then goes to LinkedIn to contact a hiring manager, who gets credit, right?
And attribution is a nightmare. But it'll happen eventually.
It is. And we had experience with that years and years ago, where we tested out a cost per hire program. And what we found was great company, great people, great ATS, and the line recruiters, the people sort of at the tip of the spear, they were able to change the attribution of candidates. And the senior people in talent acquisition didn't know that. And so the recruiters would change it to like on-campus recruiting, where they got credit and made it look good rather than an online. So Indeed will run into some of those sorts of things if attribution's an issue. Another thing to note that has changed significantly at Indeed, at least for those nerds like me in the industry, is that I think it was just a week ago, they said that advertisers of jobs, employers that had, instead of the average job needing to have a budget of at least $25, or I think it was 15 euros or 15 pounds sterling, that now it's every single job. So before, right, you could post 100 jobs, and as long as you gave budget for the average one to have 25, they would run all 100 jobs. Now every single job needs to have a budget of at least 25. And if they can get their customers to do that, that's going to be a massive revenue boost. And if they can't, they're potentially going to lose a bunch of customers to other aggregators, job boards, whatever.
They're like every other job board recruitment marketplace. They want the revenue to go up. And hiring is very, very cyclical, as we all know. Recruitment is very, very cyclical, as we all know.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes a dip. And that may be why the change was made. I don't know. You don't know yet. Right. But we'll find out from Chris Forman as soon as I talk to him.
Well, speaking of dips, I think that your conversation with me has come to an end.
Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.
All right. I am heading to TA Tech in San Diego, and I think that some of our viewers and listeners will see me there.
Please give Peter Weddle my regards.
Will do. And I will see you on the next one. Cheers, my friend.
Sounds good.
Bye, Peter.
Bye.